Firstly, I think you'll agree we've got a hell of a lineup here of the players who are shaping the market. We'll go very quickly from the end, a quick intro. I think most people will know who we are, but maybe just, does everybody know who these companies are? Anybody not know who these companies are? We all know who the company are. We don't need to, and maybe Brian, when it comes to you, maybe some people may not know who you guys are yet.
After the Microsoft deal, everybody knows who.
Well, okay, maybe, yeah, maybe. But I want to use this time. We're going to have a chance to ask some questions as well later. So think of the question you've always wanted to ask. Unless you're an employee of one of them, and then we're not going to do live pay rises or anything. But I wanted us to maybe start with you, Andrew, and just think, what are the factors that have been kind of shaping the way you're thinking about the Gamma business over the last year or so? Are there some key factors, a couple of things that you've been latching onto that are affecting your thoughts about the business?
Yeah, well, I think you've probably mentioned it already, Matt. I mean, Germany's been quite a big deal for us in the last 12 months, as people may have noticed. Obviously, for those that don't know me, and there's quite a lot of people that do work for us in here and have worked for us. So I'm Andrew at Gamma. We've been in the UK now for nearly 25 years, providing full communication suite to businesses directly through channel partners. And as Matt was articulating earlier, so I'm basically repeating what you've already heard, but hopefully fleshing it out a little bit. UK market's still a really, really exciting place to be. There's lots of growth in there. Our UK businesses are growing. But when you have a look around Europe, the opportunity that we saw, particularly in Germany, where cloud penetration is so low, is just enormous. So what we've been trying to do over the last 12 months is quite simply say, can we build what we think we've built pretty successfully over the last sort of 25 years in the UK? Can we go and build that in Germany and exploit that under-penetrated market and growing market? And that's been the real driver for us. And you'll have seen probably about 6 months ago now, we acquired Placetel off of Cisco. We're very, very happy with that, doing really, really well. And then the last few weeks, we acquired Starface as well. So we've now got 450 employees in Germany, business doing about 130 million euros of revenue. So and we're still in Spain and the Netherlands. I mustn't forget those as well. But fundamentally, what's been my driver in the last 12 months and will be in the next 12, 24 months, it's establishing that business in Germany.
The geographic expansion.
Geographic,
market opportunity.
That would have been the quicker way of saying it. Yeah, geographic expansion. And here's Sam.
And Sam, what's CEO of 8x8? What's the kind of things that you've been thinking about? Factors that have been kind of driving your thoughts.
So first, Matt, let me say thank you for inviting me to come up and speak, and thank you to Cavell. You guys always do amazing work, and I just want to say that in front of everyone. For me, it's that in 2020 we saw a shift, and it's a little bit a riff on one of the slides you showed earlier, which is that chart that shows ILEC, fiber infrastructure at the top, all the way down to CX at the bottom. In 2020, and I'll follow up with a few data points. In 2020, we saw a massive shift in spending towards customer retention. In Silicon Valley, where I'm based, for 20, 25 years, it all been around customer acquisition, globalization, marketing automation systems, CRM systems, payment systems, et cetera, all around getting new customers. Starting in 2020, it's now about retaining customers. When I look and I speak to fellow CEOs in America, every single CEO is now becoming obsessed about customer retention, their regulars, reorder rates. What are our regular customers ordering? Are our ARPUs increasing, et cetera? Collaboration, yesterday's news. Voice, 2 weeks ago's news. Right now it's about how do you use these technologies to drive customer engagement so that you can drive higher reorder rates and retention rates. I think this market, this CX market, will be as big as the CRM market in 20 years. It's going to be a function of one's going to help you acquire customers and one's going to help you retain customers. And people are going to realize very rapidly that spending large quantities of dollars to acquire customers only to lose them is really just a mistake. And we see it in the Metrigy data, we see it in the PricewaterhouseCoopers data, et cetera. You have 1 in 3 will leave a brand they love after one bad customer support experience. And every one of our customers has 2.4 chances before they lose their customers. That is a small margin of error after you spend a fortune acquiring these customers in a highly competitive market. I think there's a huge opportunity for everybody in this room. As we go down that chart that you presented, Matt, to that bottom layer of CX, hard, complex, tons of integration, rife with fraud and security issues, et cetera, but all of our customers will pay us greatly to figure that out for them.
Yeah, great. Dan, what are you thinking?
About
The same as
to add on your point, my belief is if you look to what's happening now and take, for example, AI assistants. For me, AI assistants are is the biggest innovation since the internet. And we will see, because it will be part of our purpose in the coming years. But it immediately adds to what they say about informal customer experience. It's about the demand of the end user will just level up. And we need to act. That means like, the customers, they will tell me, come to me, what are the different channels I want to have, give me the right answer, and not like tell me, know your customer with data. I don't want that if you have at the end that my colleague knows what was happened. And I think there is still a big, when you speak about retention, etc. I fully agree. There is still a huge opportunity. Next to that part, I think like what we have seen due to COVID, where like cloud was nice to have, became like a must-have type of engine. We have seen a lot of innovation, a lot of startups moving up in the integration space. Also, big companies did a lot of innovation in this area. But the second part is like about, and I think we as UCaaS providers have a huge challenge, because we always, a lot of us, we believe that we need to lead them to, I would say, our application. We within Destiny, we don't believe this. At the end, I think what you see with CPaaS, etc., you need to reopen, like voice was a very open technology, but due to collaboration, etc., it was very closed. We need to be in a closed environment. But how can we play a role to reopen this, that the end user can just choose what's happening, what is using, and there we as Destiny, we've seen and we made already a strategic choice before 2020 in investing much more in this area. To be very honest, UCaaS, we can all classify its legacy. I cannot win with a feature what is like in voice. Yes, we need to onboard AI and other stuff, but it's more about the experience, what we deliver to the end user, what will be key.
Okay. And then maybe Brian, obviously you've been through quite a bit of change recently, but maybe what's driving you, kind of what you're thinking about the business now?
Yeah, so first I'll kind of follow Sam's footsteps and just say hi to everybody. This is my first Cavell Europe event. We've been a long-time supporter of Cavell in the Americas. Love what Cavell has done with Cloud Communications Alliance, and so we're a little bit new to this region. I'll talk about that in 1 second, but I guess I'll start with what do I see over the horizon, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing about it. Very much to echo some of the other comments, I think we are on the cusp of what I would call the largest opportunity in the communications industry since the advent of VoIP, since the big transformation from TDM and analog services to digital. And now here we sit with the digital communications ecosystem, looking over a precipice at a massive opportunity with AI and what I'll call the hyper-verticalization of business applications. You guys refer to it as the intelligent business. Could not agree more. And for those that figure this out and crack the code, there's going to be a massive opportunity. And so now what are we doing about it? At Alianza, we've been kind of marching down this journey of cloudification of telecommunications core networks in anticipation of this moment, and found an opportunity to, I'll say, take a big swing, take a big chance, and buy the Metaswitch business from Microsoft. Why? because we deeply believe in the service provider ecosystem. We think service providers in the next generation of service delivery are uniquely situated to deliver secure communications applications. And you talked about security a little bit. Security is going to be ever more important in a world of AI that changes not just how we communicate, but the fidelity of the communication and the reliability of the communication. There's some big questions around trust in what's coming next. And we think service providers are going to play a critical role in delivering a trusted, secure, AI-powered, hyper-verticalized business intelligence solution. And excited to play a piece in that development.
Great. So we've got some, I hope, as we hoped, we've got some very different answers from what's driving us. If we maybe dig down firstly on that customer requirement. So we heard quite a bit about, from Sam specifically, around that, customers now wanting focus heavily on that retention piece. Are there any other sort of key things you're seeing in the sort of end customer realm that is changing? Is there anything that you're thinking about and looking at? We're talking a lot about security and other things. Is there stuff that is sort of from your work with the end customers? Anything that's standing out? Maybe Andrew, from your perspective, is there is there any specific requirements you're seeing coming through which are changing?
Yeah, I mean, inevitably, I won't repeat what's been said. Again, Gamma's business, we split between our enterprise customers and we split between our small business customers. And you won't be surprised to hear we're seeing our enterprise customers really kind of driving that agenda. So it's what can I buy? Is it secure? How much AI is in it? I don't really understand what I've just said by how, what AI is, but I want AI in it because that's what I've been told I have to have. So a lot of, and can I integrate it with a load of, so all of those things are being driven. I think the really interesting thing for me is how the small business market begins to evolve in that as well. Because I think what you're going to see is all of these terms that we use, and we probably don't really understand what they mean either. So sort of UC, CC, CX, CPaaS. I think they begin to blend more and more and more going forward. And I think there's a really interesting opportunity in the SME space, because SMEs aren't going to buy a massive, great big contact center solution, but they will want some of those features that sit in that contact center. They will want some of those AI-enabled features. And I think the winners going forward are going to be the people that can actually bring a very modular, very bespoke product that's actually very easy for SMEs to consume. And I think I've probably answered a slightly different question to the one you answered, Matt, because we're not kind of seeing that yet. As I say, the enterprise guys are driving it. But I think over the next kind of 2, 3, 4 years, what we need to do is have a product and a suite of products that can go into small business needs, easy to consume, where they can pull out all of those features that they want, because some of them will major more on security because of what they do. Some of them will major on they just need a really good, natural voice AI interaction with their customers. Some of them will need different things, but what they won't want to be doing is be paying $100 a seat for something that does everything. And that's the challenge, I think, for us.
But since I've kind of been working on the Gamma journey for, 15 years or something, the product set has had to change quite dramatically. I would say you've broadened quite a bit in terms of your capability. Are you seeing, you even in the last couple of years, if I think about kind of what you're serving now, is that a reflection on that requirement that you now have to have a more of a security portfolio, more of a, you're having to serve a bigger kind of...
It's the thing we're currently wrestling with quite a lot at the moment as a team, which is if you go out, particularly where you're selling through the channel, particularly if you're going to partners and go, I've got 100 things that you can buy, people look at you very confused and go, I don't really know which of those 100 things to sell. And we were kind of talking earlier on, it's quite difficult to onboard these things. It's quite difficult to train your staff on these things. But equally, you can guarantee in your customer base, there's going to be one end user that does want one of those 100 things. And I think the challenge for Gamma over the next couple of years is working with our, where are we adding value to our suppliers as well and the people we work with. It's taking some of those products, from people on the panel, and making them easy for our channel partners to consume so that they can get them into the hands of small businesses. And as I say, it is a very live debate within the organisation. And we talk about the Goldilocks number. What is that number of solutions you need?
Interesting. And Sam, you've obviously talked a lot about initially that retention piece. Are there other things that you're seeing in your customer base, and you've got very much an international customer base that's coming through that beyond that you're seeing as kind of big trends that are affecting what you're thinking?
Yeah. So first off, Andrew, brilliant answer. And I'm going to riff a little bit on it because I think it's very spot on, because I think we're probably talking to the same customers, obviously. And I'm going to say
We should
something
do more together.
that is maybe slightly controversial. So forgive me up front if I hurt your feelings. I am an American. It's sort of inbred in us. But voice was founded and patented in 1875, right? It's 2025. It's 150 years old. If you're a reseller out there selling voice, or you're a service provider who does voice, you ain't got much to add at this point. Like, we've run out of features to add. I think, you said it very well. And Andrew, you said it very well, which is what the customer now wants is not voice. They want a solution to a business problem they have. And they're willing to pay us, the vendors, you, the channel partners, et cetera, for that solution. They lack the expertise in setting up an inbound contact center that has deepfake detection and accepts PCI compliant payments across multiple time zones with agent assist and dealing with agent. All these things are the core things that businesses deal with. And they want us, the suppliers, to bring them a suite of products that is hyperly customized for every single one of them. Because each of them views their business as a snowflake that needs a custom solution. And so no longer do we have to be experts at number porting and voice communications and call quality across routing and et cetera. We also have to be experts at technology integration, both what we develop in-house, what we get from our suppliers, and we have to bring that. It's one of the things that Gamma does really well, Destiny does it well. Like, we have to bring those technologies to the customer and say, for you, today, this is the solution that solves your business problem, and they will happily write you a check. If you come in and say, hey, do you want to move your voice to cloud? They're like, yeah, we've been talking about that for 20 years, don't care. Like, what does that get me? Oh, I save a few shekels, so what? Right? It really solved my business problems.
And how are you driving that change? So that I tend to agree.
Yeah.
But the challenge is where the skills lie.
Yeah.
And the people to enable that change in the channel. I mean, I know Dan and Andrew have got large channels, parts of their businesses as well, and have that similar problem. But how do we get that change happening in that?
So this part I'll give a short answer to. I mean, we've gone from 2 products that we sold 2 years ago to 10 products today. We have more coming, so we have more product lines. Those products are multifunctional. So what I mean by that is you'll go into a customer and you'll say, you want appointment setting and management. So we've got a bot that helps you do that. We've got SMS and WhatsApp messaging to keep track of that. We've got, failover to an agent to help you. These are all really complex solutions. We've had to change out half our sales organization to be able to sell those solutions, because you can't just walk in and say, how many lines of voice do you need? There are Matt, you track this. There's 200 people that provide VoIP services, 300. I mean, you're not going to differentiate yourself in that world on 150-year-old technology. If you want to survive in this marketplace, you've got to step up, do something different. And the do something different is meet the customers where they are, solve their business problems. And their number one top of mind problem today is, how do I retain my customers?
And Dan, you're in multiple countries. I mean, right across Europe. I'm going to 7. Did I get it right? Something like that. Okay. And, are you seeing any different? Are you seeing similar trends? Are you seeing different trends in those? Is there, is it different in France than it is in Belgium? As it is in Scandinavia? Are there sort of anything you would call out where you're seeing some differences, or are there sort of common? Is it common, these challenges?
If you just look from a feature perspective, I don't believe, I don't see a huge difference between someone who is an employee or one of your users in the French market or the Nordics. And what you see within But we know already in the Nordics, we still have a very mobile-first type of approach. So your biggest competitor, for example, in the low end of the SMB market is mobile only, because people just don't use a fixed number anymore.
Yeah.
Pure from a UCaaS perspective, if we're speaking about Germany, it's incredible. You speak about AI, CCaaS, CPaaS, whatever, and then you're coming in Germany and 50% of the SMBs, they're buying on-prem cloud PBX.
We need a fax machine.
So there is still a huge opportunity if you just look to these trends. The same we see in the French market, but people still love to buy and to have like a certain capex. We don't know, but we still see a lot of these things, and that's a little bit it conflicts sometimes, because we believe about innovation, we speak about going, about assistance, and then you see your end user, and we focusing on SMB. But look to an SMB, an owner, he runs his business. It just need to work. He doesn't like change. That's where we compete with, and he doesn't like any migration, because migration is tough, and that's the reason why we told as Destiny, look, a call engine or a UCaaS platform, it just it's routing your calls. That's what it at the end it's the final thing what it does. But imagine that we put a layer on top what is completely agnostic, where we can drive fast innovation, some killer features in the market. That's our smart cloud concept, and we make it agnostic. That's the way how we can tackle this area, because we know that like SMB, it's going extremely slow. Adoption of technology is, and for sure in communication for them it's nice, but even about retention, they're still not in the mindset that it can drive a lot of value. So it's a challenge, to be very honest.
And Brian, maybe because those guys have answered quite a lot of that question, maybe changing tack a little bit, and people be interested in what are you thinking about where you are going to drive differentiation in this new business that you're building, Alianza. Where do you see you building value and differentiating that business? Where does that lie for you in the future?
I'm going to answer this question by asking a question briefly. How many of you represent service providers? And I'll do a raise of hands in a second. When I say service provider, I mean mobile operators, broadband operators, fiber, mobile, telco, name it. Just raise your hand if you're a broadband operator. Okay, I'm going to answer this question for you, which is probably, I would say, 15, 20% of the room, maybe, by turning this on its head a little bit. If you look at the global communications endpoints, handsets, IP phones, virtual communications applications, on a global scale, there's somewhere between 9 and 10 billion connected devices. All of the over-the-top application providers combined own less than 5% of that market. 95% of the customer base, of the addressable revenue, sits on service providers' network infrastructure. The folks that are building network, that have invested over the last 10 years, $3.6 trillion to build network capability to reach end users. And by and large, a lot of the innovation that's taken place in our marketplace has taken place over the top of those networks by parties outside, right? Because they've been faster to market with cloud native technologies. And although service providers have reach, what service providers have not been really good at historically is speed of innovation. They're really good with security. They're really good with stability, 5 nines availability, awesome. But then they deliver a generic product to the entire market. And what we're talking about today is this hyper verticalization, where now to be deeply meaningful and drive the next generation of revenue, it's not just about a generic voice plugin. That's already commoditized. Prices on that are coming down month over month, and it's 150 years, it's just voice. What comes next, though, is really meaningful and a massive opportunity. And our take on that, and maybe how we're a little bit different, is our channel is the broadband operators, and our mission is to transform them into value-added service providers, not just connectivity providers. Now we have reach. We have customers in 81 countries, 1,000 different operators. Every one of the top 30 operators, including all the top tier ones, are Alianza customers. They're using our technology to deliver basic, generic communication services, and we're on a mission to help them transform to deliver the types of value-added, AI-enabled communications applications that can drive the next generation.
I think that was one of the things when we spoke on the day of the acquisition that struck me when you said to me, I can't remember how many customers you had before, but you gained like 200, like route to market. Whenever I'm looking at businesses, route to market is always the biggest challenge, right? We talk about tech, but having a route to market is pretty important. So suddenly you went from, I can't remember what it was, but it was 80 to like 300, 400 customers globally.
Yeah, well, so so I'll give you the exact numbers. So before, as a very North American focused kind of technology enabler, 200 service providers. Now we have 1,000 global service providers, 81 countries. Like I said, every major operator on earth is using our technology in their network today.
Somewhere.
So how do we help transform that? Right? How do we help them take?
So that's where you're going to be. And Dan, you've always had a mixed strategy. You've always had that route to market, channels in multiple countries, and you've always had some of your own product innovation, your own core platforms. Where do you kind of see that changing or staying the same in terms of recipe for differentiating your business in the future? Is it that combination? Where do you see the kind of?
There was for a company like us, there was a clear strategic reasoning why we didn't do only service provider only type of from a customer facing perspective. We always thought, look, like if we want to really understand what's happening at the end user perspective, we need to test, and that's still where we have a limited direct channel to really test, foster feedback, drive to innovate. We maximize this by driving this to the channel, and the next step, in the last years, we have also a few hundred of service providers globally using Destiny technology. Because that's where you have the big numbers coming in. If I believe that I have great technology, if I believe that I can drive impact on a global pace, even with what we have like 4.5 million users today, it's not a lot. And that's the reason why service providers can help you in helping us to ship, I would say, our vision up till the end customer.
So you still see elements where you're going to build the core technology within your own R&D, you're enabling things like Microsoft and other things within that technology, and then you've got a route to market which is really there to help you understand the innovation and drive, and it's that combination that kind of gives you the differentiation and reach, I guess, across multiple European countries. Great. And Sam, where does the differentiation with you lie moving forward? So in terms of within the 8x8 business, where do you see that?
So I'm a believer that we're going to focus, and I sort of gave a preview to that earlier, we're going to focus more and more on customer outcomes. So it's bringing together a series of technologies that solve a specific customer problem, be it in the healthcare vertical or whatever. So we're believers, kind of Matt, and honestly your vision a little bit, which is this verticalization and bringing solutions to market. We're in the UK market, we have active assessor and remote fix for the housing authorities here. These are custom-made, multi-product line solutions that solve specific problems. That's how you're going to win customers, because when you go to the end customer, they don't want to buy a technology, they want to buy a solution, and they want to buy it from one vendor. I mean, your data shows 70-80% of all respondents want to buy from a single vendor, because the wizardry anymore is not picking an individual technology. It's like the argument about Claude versus ChatGPT versus whatever. It's what are you going to do with it once you have it and get an actual outcome? That's actually integrating it into your workflows, getting an actual business value. It's interesting what Andrew said earlier, we deal with customers every day who are like, the boss says I should buy some AI. Okay, what do you want to do with the AI? I don't know, something that solves some problem. Help me. I'll pay you. Just something to get the boss off my back.
And that's something I didn't really understand about the 8x8 business until fairly recently, is that you are quite verticalized with some of your solutions. You have, as well as having a broad-based platform, you have some really, housing associations, other sectors where you've really killed it, where you've built that solution. Is quite interesting, because sometimes people will think, 8x8, large, global, sort of, broad-based platform, but that verticalization piece is really interesting.
But think about how enterprises want to buy, right? First thing every enterprise asks you for is a demo. Then they ask you for a proof of concept, and then give me 4 references that are exactly like me that tell me it's okay to buy the technology. right? So you want to call Bill, Fred, Jim, and John, all of which they know personally because all these industries are small. They all say, oh, it works great, then we're going to buy it. And that's how we roll up these industries, right? You just land with one and then that becomes the reference for the next 6.
Yeah.
It's just, and I get it. If you're an IT guy or you're a line of business person buying these technologies, you're not an expert at this. You're an expert at something else. You need all the risk reduction you can possibly get before making a purchase.
Yeah. And Andrew, maybe just on that differentiation point, obviously route to market has always been core to you. I mean, in the UK, the channel, you know, I get shot if I say you're the incumbent channel player, don't you? Nobody in Gamma likes the word incumbent. If you want to wind up a Gamma person at the bar,
25 years, you're pretty incumbent.
Call them the incumbent. But so I didn't say it. But you've always done brilliantly at that channel piece. Where's your mind now in terms of how much do you have to build this technology, run the technology, and how much value is in that channel? Where do you see that differentiation?
Yeah, and I think, you know, Dan was sort of alluding to it earlier. We increasingly think you can't build everything purely because, you know, I sort of said a minute ago, small businesses might want 100 things. It's not the same small business wants those 100 things. Next year it'll be 200, then it'll be 300, then it'll be 400. We can't build that. What we can do is build some of it, and where it makes sense to do that, we are going to build some of it, and we do build some of it. And again, you know, we could spend the next 10 minutes on the differences between the UK and the German market, which may or may not be interesting to the room. You know, but I think UK and Germany is in a slightly different place as well in terms of that sort of market growth. But increasingly what we see is we need to partner with, you know, large global organizations. Obviously, we talk about Microsoft, we talk about Cisco, and, you know, potentially smaller organizations as well, to ensure that we have that complete suite of solutions that small businesses may want. Where we then add the value is making those as straightforward as possible to combine so that our channel partner can give that small business the solution they want. Because, you know, Sam articulated it brilliantly. Small businesses aren't turning up going, I want to buy a UCaaS, or I want to buy a CCaaS, or I want to buy an AI or whatever. They're going, I've got this issue, I run a pub, people phone me at the most inconvenient times to book a table in that pub. How do I solve it, right? And we have a solution for that. We just need to make sure that our channel partner can pick that solution out of the portfolio and provision it very easily for the customer. Because, you know, I was going to say a stupid thing there. We've got a solution for all business problems. That's probably not entirely true. But you know, there are lots and lots and lots of really clever solutions, really clever tech out there for lots of different business problems. And we just have to be able to make sure that our channel partners can provision those easily, whether it's something that ultimately we've built, something that one of these guys have built, something that Microsoft have built.
Okay. We've got a couple of minutes. I just thought I'd give the opportunity, if anybody has I should have used Slido or some of the technology the guys told me how to use it, but I didn't. I'm getting old. Anybody got a burning question? Well, we've got this amazing panel here that they would like to ask. Anybody brave who wants to ask a question? Nobody brave. Golly, look. Yeah, go.
It's great to say the technology's there. Do you think sales to actually answer those questions? So is it about selling? Isn't that just as important as tech?
Yeah, so the question is partner, if those who didn't hear, is partner enablement, sales enablement, just as, or even more important than the technology at the moment? Is that the key issue in the market?
So I would say absolutely. Sorry, I'd say absolutely. What most, and I'll differ. I don't think service providers are going to have a lot of success in the future mucking about in layer 7. I think they're going to be bandwidth providers today. They're network and bandwidth providers today, and they'll be network and bandwidth providers 20 years from now. They're fantastic at it, but they're going to be fiber, wireless companies. They'll never be applications companies. And collaboration and CX and these things. I'll say that, and that's my provocative statement for the day. But part of that is because they lack customer intimacy. And so what we have to do is we have to enable those channel partners across the board to be able to ask the right questions in their vertical, whatever. I would say though that there's if you're a channel partner or you're a member of the distribution community here, you have to step up too and realize that you need to evolve your business. You need to get more intimate. You need to really understand your customers and then meet us halfway. We'll meet you halfway, but absolutely, it's a big lift for all of us.
Yeah.
I was just going to say simply, yes, you're absolutely spot on. And I think part of the Gamma product is the thing, but it's also the wrap around that. It's about how we help our partners to, sell it.
Can I
Yeah,
add?
go.
Maybe to add about sales, we did also some research about new generations, and I don't know if you know that how young people are doing sales today. They don't want to speak anymore with the salesperson. So what you see with today, the new generation do a lot of research. So reference checking is done extremely. So it's extremely important about. But in fact, what we speak about customer intimacy, we always say, we need to have like the human touch, blah blah blah. But these people, they don't love anymore the human touch. And second, we did some research about, mostly in Sweden, because we are very strong in, I think we have the biggest fixed mobile base in the world due to the Nordics, where we are market leader. But like we did research about the companies and the company age of our existing customer base. It was shocking. I can tell you it was shocking because I found out that like I didn't have a lot of young companies signing up with me. So even there, like in the industry where we are, what is the definition of communication? We need to be very also careful about these trends today.
We've probably got one more, very if it's quick.
It's quick.
So I think the question
I'd love to take this question. I think this is a really interesting one, and it touches. So for those that didn't hear the question that Matt asked, it was all about when you have access to customer data in this new world where we're now incorporating AI, security becomes increasingly important. What are we doing about it? I think this is where I get really excited about the channel play, and I'll actually differ from Sam a little bit in my answer, because I do think service providers are poised for a resurgence. I think I would even call it a renaissance in their voice business. There is a gap that exists in trust between the service provider and an over-the-top application provider. Sure, the application service providers are agile. They move faster. They have clearly developed leadership in what I'll call the 1.0 to 2.0 transition from TDM to VoIP that took place over the last 20 years. But in this next transition that's now VoIP to AI-enabled voice and these intelligent business processes, I think customers and businesses are once again going to look back to the service provider because that's who they trust. They trust with their internet, they trust with their broadband, they trust to deliver a more highly secured, encrypted experience from end to end across the network operator that owns the entire experience. That's a hard problem to crack, though, because service providers have not innovated. This is a new motion for them. And that's part of our hypothesis behind why we purchased the Metaswitch business from Microsoft. We believe in this. We believe in the service providers. And I think time will tell how this market develops and plays out.
Come back in a few years and see,
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, let's see if Sam or you,
Hopefully both right.
There's the market's massive, right? This is
both right, yeah.
I think what just this next phase is $1 trillion annual revenue market opportunity globally. This should be a really important point. There is room enough in this market for all of us and then some. And I think what's important is like you kind of amidst like this change and this flux that we're going to go through, pick what you can be hyper relevant at, really good at, and focus. I think we have a human tendency that when we can do anything, we try to do everything. And that's a recipe for disaster. Pick where you want to play, focus, you'll find success.
It's a book I read called Riches in Niches.
Yeah.
When I started this business. I have kind of got some of the riches, but not all of them yet. But the niche is really important. I think we're up to time. I've got various people flagging and it's going red. The guys are around. It's been a fascinating panel, right? We've got some of the thought leaders here. So big thank you to all of you for taking part. If you would like to